Well, good morning, church. We are so glad that you guys are with us today. We're excited for church this morning. Hope you guys are too. Let's stand together. We're going to start our service with some songs. I want to invite you to sing with us, to pray with us. We sing, I give you glory. I give you glory for all you've brought me through. And now I'm ready for whatever you want to do. I'm moving forward to follow after you. And now I'm ready for whatever you want to do. We sing, your presence is an open door. We want you, Lord, like never before. Yeah. Your presence is an open door. So come now, Lord, like never before. Hey. In every season, your grace has been enough. And I'm believing the best is yet to come. Yeah. The cross before me, my open things above. And in you, Jesus, the best is yet to come. So we say, your presence is an open door. We want you, Lord, like never before. Your presence is an open door. So come now, Lord, like never before. Yeah. Come on, church, put our hands together like this. We get to sing with confidence. We get to sing believing. So we sing. I know breakthrough is coming. By faith, I see a miracle. My God made me a promise and He won't stop now. We say, I know breakthrough is coming. By faith, I see a miracle. My God made me a promise and He won't stop now. Hey. I know breakthrough's coming. By faith, I see a miracle. My God made me a promise and He won't stop now. One church, we sing one more time. I know breakthrough is coming. By faith, I see a miracle. My God made me a promise and He won't stop now. Hey,
Just close your eyes for a second. We're not going to play church this morning. And if He offers us His presence, we're going to take it. We come to meet with Him. We let Him draw close to our hearts. There's nothing worth more that'll ever come close. God, we rest in your presence this morning. Thank you that this is the best place for us to be. That in your presence is the fullness of joy. So we lean into that promise this morning. We take hold of what you have to offer. And nobody can take it away. Nobody can stop what you're doing this morning in our hearts, in this room. As we come to meet with you, have your way, Jesus. As we sing this out. Here is where every burden. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay down every lie and doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to.
Before we go any further in the song, sometimes when you first go back to church or you start attending church, they use some phrases and words that you don't relate to. And I think this song has one where it says that I lay down every burden and every crown. And I know we all know what burdens are. Some of you came in with burdens. Some of you got some stuff going on and it's weighing you down. But crowns, we don't wear crowns. I did see somebody come in this morning with a tiara, so maybe she's going to put a crown down. I don't know. It's over there, but up there, okay. Really. So I remember when I first became a Christian and I would read about Revelation and the end times, and kind of got this picture in my head that one day when I pass from this life into eternity, I'll get to heaven and I'll check in. They'll find my name on the list, hopefully. And then they'll go, okay, well, here's your packet. And they'll show me the way to my mansion, apparently, according to John. And then they'll give me this crown. And I'm like, and the crown kind of represents the life of faith that we live down here. In fact, the book of Revelation talks about elders who have crowns and people who maybe were martyred for the gospel's sake get a crown. So apparently it represents our life of faith that we live, so that one day when we meet our Savior, he says, well done, my good and faithful servant, enter into your rest. And there's where we find the mansion and the crown and all that. But then I just got this picture that I get to go to my very first worship service where I'm going to see Jesus finally face to face. And there's millions of people at this worship service, and the worship service begins, and the Lamb of God, who was slain before the foundation of the world, walks out, and I get my first glimpse along with millions of other people. And when you see him face to face, you can't help but bow down. In fact, that's why there's a creature in Revelation that has all of these eyes, because every time he says, worthy is the Lamb, he bows, and he just keeps seeing Jesus all the time. And you get to this worship service, and there he is. He comes out, and everybody begins to bow and just worship him. And then suddenly you see a crown come sliding out of the crowd. And then more crowns. And then more crowns sliding at the feet of Jesus. And I realize that everything that I've able to do and the life that I live was because of God. The only reward I have, because he rewarded me for being a good, faithful servant, but it's only through him. And then I bend down and I throw my crown out. As we get into this song, I just want you to be in a place that I just want to make room for you, God. And it's so easy to come to a service on a Sunday and lay down your burdens. But we often hold those things that we accomplish to our chest as well. When we get a picture of Jesus, we're going to realize the things that we were able to accomplish was because of him anyway. So let's just make room and be ready to lay down our burdens and to lay down our crowns and say, God, I just welcome you in here. We welcome you, invite you in. Jesus, we make room in our hearts. We make room in our lives. We recognize that, yes, you're in every burden, but you're also there. That the reason why we're able to accomplish anything is because of you, God. So we just make room for you this morning. In Jesus' name.
So instead of praying this out today, I'm just going to give you some time. I'm going to give you some time to pray, talk to him this morning. So let's give him some space. So Lord, would you receive the prayers of your people this morning? We thank you for who you are and what you're doing in this place. We love you, Jesus. In your name, amen. Amen. Why don't you guys go ahead and have a seat?
Good morning, everybody. Anybody ever forget their anniversary? Woke up this morning and realized that 18 years ago today, Shoreline Church had its first service. So this is our birthday. It's our anniversary, 18 years old. Now we can party. We in a nightclub, baby. We can vote. Good morning. My name is Eric. I'm the senior pastor here. I want to welcome you this morning. I also want to welcome those that are watching online. AG is a moderator for our online campus. If you're on there, you need prayer, you got questions, you can even fill out an online connection card. If you want to connect with Shoreline, we'd love to hear your story, know more about you, and just be able to connect with you. So, this week, been a chaotic week. 3 of my 4 kids are moving. We're moving this week. Not out of my house. Of course, that would be a momentous occasion. No, just moving at the same time. They're all like, hey, can you help me move? Yeah, if you help me move. And then I was gone all week. I left last Sunday, got back Friday. And I go to pull my boat in the garage, and I can't get my boat in the garage because there's a bunch of stuff in there. See, this is what happens when you leave for a week and leave your wife at home. Go into the first floor, and the first floor of our house is completely gutted. And we'd never talked about this. I come home, and my house is gutted. And she's like, yeah, by the way, no more fishing stuff. You can't buy any, can't afford it anymore. But the reason why we're doing this, and the reason why my children move, especially because my oldest son, he's got a growing family, they need more room. So we need more room in our house. We need to, do some things so we can have people over. Well, it's the same for us here at Shoreline. As you can see, it's very crowded in here. So I just want to let you know, come March, we're going to be adding a 3rd service. And you may also know, if you've got children, take a look at our children's church. We've been renovating in there for the last 2 weeks so we can accommodate more children. And so all of this is to make room for God's treasure, which is people. Because I don't know if you know this, excuse me, but God is doing something wonderful in our city. And he's doing something wonderful in our church. And so we want as many people as possible to be able to experience this and be a part of it. And so we're making room as well. So we're going to be talking to you about making room, not only for God in our hearts, but making room for people as we move into our Easter season. And so maybe you're newer here, maybe you started attending after New Year's. You can discover how you can connect here with Shoreline Church and how you can get into the game and be a part of that wonderful thing that God is doing. Today, after our 2nd service, we're going to have Discovering Shoreline right up there. Lunch is provided. It's a chance for you to meet our staff, meet some of the pastors, figure out, just, hear where we came from, where we're going, what the vision is. It's all in a lunch, little 20-minute discussion. And you can find out it's your first step on how to be connected and how you can be a part of this wonderful thing that God is doing. Now, today, we're very, 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 very excited about a new series we're starting here today called No Offense. And I'm really excited, for one, because of all the different speakers that we get to hear from in this next 3 weeks, including my pastor, who's made a huge impact on my life, huge impact on this church. You're going to enjoy him. Now, when we do a series like this, if you've ever been, maybe you've been in a part of a church like this, or I got to quit saying that because there aren't any churches like this. Shoreline is the church like this, right? Like this. I mean, this is what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that when you're a part of a church, especially across our culture, when you hear about a series called No Offense, the first thought that comes to your mind is, especially what's happened in our culture, is, oh, good thing we're talking about this. You know who needs to hear this? Some of them snowflakes are getting triggered. That's how we think, right? I'm telling you, churches across America think it's the other people that get offended. But the truth is, you would be surprised at how many people in church get offended. All right? I mean, I think it's up there with the culture. Now, here's the tension. Most of you are not offendable people. You're not. Because if you're here and I'm your pastor, you've been offended before. And you're still here. In fact, I had a young lady come in this morning and go, Pastor Eric, you almost ran me and my family over yesterday on Brook Street. And I said, I didn't see you. Where were you? She said, in the crosswalk. The one that's lit up that says stop, pedestrians in crosswalk, that one. I was like, oh. And she's still here. So the truth is, she's not offended, right? Because you know what? We're all capable of being offended. But we're going to discover in this series that being offended is a choice. You decide to be offended. And we're going to learn how we can make a difference in the world by choosing not to be offended. I hope you enjoy the service. I'll be back up after about 35 minutes when the message is done. So enjoy Pastor Graham this morning.
Happens to everybody. You get a little bit of entitlement and you become a Karen. That's why we here at Shoreline Church are starting our new Karen recovery group. Okay, you are at Target shopping. One of the workers' tattoos are showing. What do?
Clutch my purse, very obviously.
I would ask for the manager.
Ask the worker if he's happy with his life decisions.
Okay. Correct answer here is nothing. Doesn't affect you at all. You just continue shopping.
Can I talk to your manager?
Here at Shoreline Church, we just want to keep you from turning into a Karen. That's why we're having this series, No Offense, just to try to get a hold of you before it's too late.
One-ply toilet paper? What? Are we not worth more?
Well, we can try to change that.
When did we get 2-ply toilet paper? We're a church. Isn't there somewhere we can be donating the extra ply?
We can try to fix that. Thank you. So no matter who you are or what season you're in, we're here for you. So go ahead and fill out a Connect card, drop it in the bucket as it passes, and welcome to this new series, No Offense.
Excuse me?
Yep.
Can you guarantee that these pens are conflict-free?
The pens?
It's just there's been reports of aggressive squid milking.
Squid milking? We got a lot of work to do.
What do you think? Move it back here or something? Morning, guys. Good morning, good morning. Hey, I know that last series is last series and you're hoping we'd never talk about it again, but did anybody do anything for physical health this past week? Anybody? Nice. Ah, good job. Me too. Even if you said I was going to do 5 weeks or 5 days and you only did 2, guess what? You did 2 days. That's a big deal, seriously. Like, good job. What we end up doing is only celebrating like these monumental things. It's like, no, you took a step. That's a big deal. So, well done. My name's Graham Cowgill, one of the pastors here. A little while ago, I had the twins. My twins are 7, our oldest is 10, but boy-girl twins, Jace and Tatum. And I had them for the night, and so we're gonna go out to eat. So they're in the car, we go out about to a restaurant, and I was like, this will be a nice night, you know, with the twins. And right before we get out of the car to go in, Tatum, my daughter, goes, Dad, I didn't bring any shoes, which is a very classic Cowgill move, by the way. But I was, frustrated with it already, and so whatever. I go in, and I talk to the guy that's in there, and I go, hey, listen, buddy. My daughter, she's a Cowgill. And he goes, say no more. No. I said, my daughter doesn't have shoes. We're looking to eat. Is there any way that we can come and eat? Listen, I saw you have tables outside. I literally said this. We will eat outside. We're fine. Just throw it in the dumpster. We'll eat out of the dumpster, right? Like anything. Can we please just eat? And the guy goes, here's actually his exact reaction. He goes, it's just, I don't really think. I go, forget it, dude, just like that, forget it. And I stormed off. As much as an Enneagram 9 can storm off, I stormed off, right? I was very respectful, probably closed the door, but I stormed off. All right, so just so you know, I'm a man of principle, I'm a man of conviction, and because of that interaction, I refused to go back to that restaurant for an entire 4 days, okay? When I make a point, buddy. And then we actually went back 4 days later, and sure enough, we get the same guy as a waiter. And I let him feel it, you know? Like, I still was polite, and I still was respectful, and I still said please and thank you, but I wasn't as chipper as I normally am, and I know we felt it, right? I wanted to do something. But honestly, I was in my mind thinking, like, how do I convey to this guy that was not okay? But also, how can I still not get spit in my food? And halfway through the meal, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what am I doing? You ever had that moment of clarity when you just realize what an idiot you are? You're just like, what am I doing? Like, this is so stupid. And it was kind of just this beam highlighting this idea of like offense. And this thing that I was carrying around, I was like, dude, what are you doing? Pastor Eric talked about this earlier, but the reason we're talking about offense for an entire series is because we live in a culture, we live in a society, honestly, that is marked by rampant offense, by rampant anger. I mean, it is the norm. It is no longer an outlier, it is the norm. And I would love to say that the offense, the main ones who are doing that thing is those guys, but to be even more honest, I think that the people that we find being the most offended and the people who are the most angry, a lot of times are the Christians. Like, really. It's like, it's us. We're supposed to be kind of leading the charge, and we're leading the charge the wrong way. And so with this series, I want to do a few things. I wanted to talk about, do we ourselves, how do we highlight the offense inside of us? And then what even steps can we take this morning to maybe dislodge that a little bit, give it a little bit less power in our lives moving forward? Now, when we talk about Christians being angry or the church being offended or being angry, I think that I've seen it all over the spectrum. I've seen the Graham being stupid way, like that's just like, dude, get over yourself. I was in California one time, in our church in California, there's this guy who had come in for the first time ever for a church service, and you guys know as well as I do how much courage that takes. Some of you guys are here this morning. Well done. I know it takes a lot of courage. And this guy had come into a church for the very first time, and in the middle of the worship songs, worshiping, another just person who attends the church goes up to this new guy who attends the church and said, "You need to take your hat off. That's very disrespectful." And we never saw that guy again. And so you see something like that, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, you know, like those, dude, you are working against everything that we're trying to do. And so there's this silly, like, obviously that's offense spectrum, but there's also this other side of the spectrum, and I've had these thoughts. When we start talking about anger, you start talking about what do Christians' role in anger? What does that happen? Honestly, if we have a culture that is perpetuated towards just growing anger, here's what I thought. Minor digression. Anybody here ever known somebody who is a rage person? Maybe a rageaholic. They go to rage very quickly. Here's a problem. Here's a problem with rage. And actually the reason why it's so addicting. The reason it's addicting is because if you are rage, then you are able to control everybody around you. You know this. Maybe you had a parent or a step-parent or a brother, sister, or boss or somebody. If they're rage, every decision flows through that person. Even the decisions that don't have to do with that person. You're always in the back of your mind thinking, how do I keep that person out of the red? How do I keep them not flipping out? And to go even further, the tough part for somebody who's rage is the people they surround themselves with. If you have good boundaries and you won't allow yourself to go to that place, then that person will throw you out of your life. And so the only person that people they remain around them are the people with no boundaries that they know that they can manipulate. And it creates this crazy culture. You know that. So if you don't have boundaries, laser set around people with rage, you will find yourself destroyed. Your life will be given to the will and the opinions and what that other person wants in rage. How it works into our culture is, if we have a culture that is growing in rage, growing in this controlling manipulation, then my thought was, do we as a church, are we losing ground? I don't want to fight fire with fire, I get that, but like, if everybody's mad and we're not, does it seem like we don't care about things as much? Does it seem like, go back to the Enneagram 9, the people-pleasing, right? Are we like the Enneagram 9ers in the room and everybody else is the rage people and we just have broken boundaries and we'll let people walk all over that? I've thought that. So maybe as a church, we need to show that we can get angry too, that we can go there. And today we're going to look at what God says our approach in the realm of offense, our approach even in the realm of anger should be. And just spoiler alert, as far as boundaries goes, just let you know that we are not called to be people who are offended. We are not called to be people who are offended. And it's very, very difficult. There's a lot of stuff that's happened in all of our lives that are standing in the way of that. But again, today is not about fixing us completely. It's about highlighting and dislodging those things that have some power. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this series that is taken from a book called Unoffendable. If you're ever looking for a good read, it's a fantastic read. And we're pulling a lot of our material from this book and this journey. But if you're a reader, order that. I wanted to give credit where credit's due. We're going through a lot of that. And pretty much it just says that it is possible for you to be unoffendable. It's possible for you to be unoffendable. Me personally, it's pretty tough to offend me. One is because my kids are just brutally honest. And whenever we meet new people, my daughter Tatum goes, "This is my dad Graham. He has cavities and a bald spot." And I was like, awesome. Thanks, Tatum. Thanks for everything. Get back in your cage, right? But also I did a stint doing like open mic stand-up comedy, and there's not a lot of room for stand-up offense and stand-up comedy. And so just kind of like everything that I've done leads to, I don't really get offended that easily. However, it's very easy for me to go, I'm not somebody who gets offended and this is for somebody else, but there's something there. I know that there's something there. And so while today is a setup message for the entire series, we're going to do a deep dive that I promise God is going to highlight something there that is a controlling nature in you that is actually dictating more than you think that it will. I also want to give this caveat. We're talking about my daughter already. Here's a caveat. There's a word that I think has been synonymized with easily offended, and it's the word sensitive. And I want to let you know, if you're in here and you're sensitive, I want to affirm that. That is a beautiful thing. My daughter is sensitive, and it's beautiful. Sensitive means that you sense people's feelings in a room. Sensitive means that you see more than meets the eye, right? Sensitive means that you are less calloused by a jaded world, maybe, than other people. Man, that should be celebrated. That's a beautiful thing. So we're going to talk about not being offended easily, but if you're in here and someone's ever called you sensitive, you hold on to that because God created that in you. That's a beautiful thing. Dadgummit, Tatum, quit making me cry. Okay. All right, so this is the introduction series. Next few weeks, we're going to unpack it, but here's kind of this main point that we're going to look at today and how it plays out. It's in James chapter 1, starting in verse 19. We're going to read a little bit more in a second. Remember, this is James. This is the half-brother of Jesus saying this. He says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this." And then he gives us these instructions. He says, "Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. We could probably just go home right now. I mean, that's enough, right? That's enough. But in just all honesty and self-awareness, not out loud because that'll take a long time, but grade yourself on that. How are you doing on that? How are you doing on that? Are you quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry? That angry thing, what's funny is I may be slow to become angry, but I find myself getting angry, especially when I was working on this message. I was hyper aware of it. And here's the thing about anger is we like to think that our anger evolves. You know what I mean? We like to think that what we were angry at when we were 20 years old, that was silly. But now, what I'm angry at 60, obviously I have enough experience to know what really we should be angry about. And so my anger has evolved. And Tatum came home the other day. Man, she's a star today. Tatum came home the other day and said, this girl's talking about me. She said that I'm not pretty. She said that I'm stupid. This is problem, this one girl almost every single day. And so I go, totally, and I'm there. And also I said, who cares? This chick seems like a stooge, right? Don't listen to her. Like, go get another friend. This one sounds awful. I mean, you don't want to hear that. That's not nice. And so in my mind, I was like, dude, just don't let that control you, because it sounds like you're giving away a big piece of your joy and your peace to this person who obviously doesn't care about you. And I had such good clarity with that. Fast forward 5 hours later, and we're in the car, and Tatum's like, Dad, why are you so frustrated? I'm like, because this idiot cut me off. And she's like, okay, but why are you going so fast? And where are we? And I'm like, I had to go fast to catch up with him, and I don't know where we are, but I will use the entire tank of gas to follow this person to make a point, right? And it's like, we just feel like what we're mad at is the right thing. That's the right thing. What? I can't believe you deal with that. That's so immature. But what I deal with, that's the thing. There are so many thousands of issues that exist. But the issue that we care about, that's the right thing. That's the issue that people should care about. Vax, no vax, mask, no mask, kneeling, no kneeling. This is the issue that everybody needs to care about because I'm angry about it and I'm mature. Not only is this the issue that everybody needs to care about, but the way to handle this issue is my way. It is like this echo chamber a lot of times of just kind of self-absorption that we fall into. We like to think that we've matured, but at the end of the day, we're just using a full tank of gas to catch up with somebody who we don't know. We go after things that doesn't even matter. Our issue is the main issue. And it would be funny if it wasn't so depressing. But you ever thought that not only is our society marked with anger and offense, but our society is also marked by just astounding anxiety and worry and stress. I think maybe those things go hand in hand. You think maybe God desires freedom from those things? I think maybe that he has something better for us. And so the way that people react in anger, I wrote, I don't think that delights the heart of God. I don't think that's what he cares about. When we're talking about fighting fire for fire, I don't think that us fighting anger with anger, I just don't think that delights the heart of God. That's not who he is. That's not what he desires. So just wanted to ask you that question. How effective is your anger? Kind of how's that going for you? The quick to anger, the quick to defend, the quick to be offended. Honestly, do you feel like that's growing you closer to Jesus? Do you feel like that's giving you the fulfilling life that God has desired? Do you feel like the way that you are responding out of anger or offense is making other people draw closer to God? How's that going for you? So we're going to look at that verse again, James 1:19. We're going to add one more verse to it. It's verse 20, and it says this: so everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. Then it continues. Why? Because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Here's another way to say that. Your human anger does not produce the fruit that God desires. The fruit is what naturally grows out of what you're connected to. okay? Who you are. It's the things that come from within. And what we desire, we even said this morning, spiritual maturity and run through, spiritual maturity in 2023, we want to be more mature, spiritually mature at the end of this year than we were at the beginning of this year. And in your mind, you think, what does that mean? Does that mean I need to know more verses? Does that mean that I need to wear better suits and cross my arms? What is it? Am I a better singer? What does it mean to be spiritually mature? Here's what it means. Here's the fruit that means that you are more connected to God at the end of this year. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy. Listen to these words. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. That is what marks somebody who is more spiritually mature, who's connected to God, away from anger, away from offense. Because your human anger, even if it's a big issue, even if it's a gnarly issue, your human anger probably is not producing the fruit that God desires. And if if somebody flips you off in the parking lot, right, your human anger is not what God desires inside of that. The fruit that God desires is this spiritual sensitivity that simultaneously recognizes God's love for you and then God's love for that other person. That is freedom from offense. That is freedom from anger. But here's the pushback. You might say to yourself, all right, Graham, I hear what you're saying, got it. But also, what I am kind of dealing with, what I have is righteous anger. Okay? I have righteous anger, which means what makes me mad is sin. What makes me mad are the things that make you mad, God. I'm joining on. I'm the righteous anger. You know what I found, and this is going to kick us all in the teeth? What I found is that our righteous anger is seldom about what we deal with, and usually about what somebody else deals with. Very rarely does our righteous anger flare up for the things that we screw up. It's always about them. Our righteous anger flares up about their ideology, but our righteous anger does not flare up about our spiritual pride. Our righteous anger flares up about their, sexual conduct, but our righteous anger rarely flares up about our gossip or our slander. So maybe even a better term is that we're more into self-righteous anger. It becomes building ourselves up, just a way to distance ourselves from them, to be able to use the word them. So here's what I wrote. Do you want to make a point, or do you want to make a difference? Do you want to make a point, or do you want to make a difference? If you want to make a point, then you reshare the thing, you reshare the meme. If you want to make a point, you get the banner on the Facebook thing, you make sure that you comment that one, that you make sure that you yell the loudest. That's making a point. But a lot of times we take these macro issues and we think, as long as I just say this or post that or do that thing, good, I did my part. What making a difference is, the way that you change the macro is to be hyper invested in the micro. How can I invest in my family in a way that changes the world? How can I invest in my friend group in a way that changes the world? How can I love beyond myself? How can I take everything that I have screwed up and make myself plainer, on par with every other person here, and say, we are all in this together? The macro changes when people take responsibility to love beyond themselves in the micro, in their own worlds. Are we trying to make a point? Or are we trying to make a difference? All right, there's one story where smart guy, expert in the law in Jesus' time, and he's asking Jesus a question, and here's how Jesus answered. He goes, so tell me, what's the most important thing? What Cliff's Notes the Bible for me here, Jesus, right? What is the most important? If I'm going to walk away with anything, what is the most important thing? And what I love is that Jesus actually answers them. Rarely does Jesus just flat out answer a question. It's usually with a parable or another question, but he answers them, and he says, you want me to tell you what's most important? Matthew 22:37. Jesus replied, here's what it is. The most important thing is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. That's the first and greatest commandment. And you know what the second one is? The second one is just like it. It's love your neighbor as yourself. I was over there in the corner during worshiping, and whenever you're in a moment like that, of just like worship and surrender, very rarely are you thinking of condemning somebody else. When you just have that spiritual connection with the God who you can just feel that love, and we try to run away from the mirror, but all of us know the things that we've done. All of us bring that stuff in here, and to feel God's love, despite the fact that we've screwed things up, you feel that in a supernatural way. And so he's saying, you want to know how to interact with others? Even if they're angry, even if they're offended, I'm going to tell you how. Your first and foremost, your thought is love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and then you love that person. Love that person. Don't try to make a point, try to make a difference. We are all in the same boat. How do you love that person in a compelling way back to me? That's how the church deals with offense. It's how it deals with being angry. And nailed that page. Okay. I saw an interview the other day with old Joe Rogan, and I don't even know how I should say that out loud. But he was talking about his MMA days, and he said that whenever you're fighting, you can always tell the person who's going to lose, and it's the angriest person. For those of you guys who have fought, I haven't. I'm an Enneagram 9. But the person who is angry is a person who's losing composure, right? The person who's the angriest in a street fight is a person who's just seen red and they can't control what they're doing. They don't have composure. The best policemen, right, are the ones who are not emotionally distracted, who are the ones who are able to be calm in the middle of it. And I thought for myself, maybe one of my accountabilities for not going angry is if I'm going to love well, I want to get to a place where I'm not emotionally distracted, where I'm not in the red, where I'm not fired up. Nobody can be angry and love well at the same time. So we're talking righteous anger. Very difficult to have righteous anger and be able to love that person very well. Anybody ever seen the movie Mona Lisa Smile? Okay, it's one of my favorite movies. If you have a young woman, girl growing into a young woman, I would strongly recommend this movie. Some adult content, PG-13, but still, it's fantastic. There's a scene in this movie where you have this housewife, traditional role housewife, who is there, who did all the things. She checked the right boxes, and she got married to the guy, and now here's her role and raising the kids. And then you have this other woman who is kind of known as the promiscuous one of the group, right? Always kind of just telling stories of her escapades. And there's this very powerful scene where the woman who was the housewife confronts the one who's promiscuous, and she's like, how does it feel just to be discarded, to give yourself to people who don't care about you? How does it feel just to be so flippant with your body? How does it feel? Are you proud of that? Like, how disgusting. And this other woman, the promiscuous one, is sitting there. And I remember watching this movie go, dude, this chick is going to slap the mess out of this other one, right? But she doesn't say anything. And then this girl gets even closer. Like, how dare you even be around us? How dare you call yourself a woman? Like, how dare you do this with your body? And then just think that you can be the same as everybody else. And she takes a step closer. And just when you think that this one's going to react, the promiscuous lady, wraps her arms around the other one. And then this lady, who's a housewife, just collapses in tears. And she goes, why doesn't he love me? Why doesn't he love me? And I just thought, so many times the hurt people, all we see is this topical offense and hurt. And we react to that statement. How dare you say that to me? But it takes a spiritual sensitivity to be able to see underneath the surface of the comments that people make. And when somebody throws an accusation at you, or they say something about the church. Righteous anger, don't say that about my church. Don't say that about my God. Look underneath the surface at somebody who is hurting. What does it mean to love somebody in a way that God would? You see underneath these statements, you get to mother hen yourself. You get to view, what does it look like to love this person in the middle of their faults? There's no way in the middle of our anger that we can see past a barb or an accusation or an email or a Facebook post. Don't get caught in that trap. Don't get caught in the trap of just responding to the hurt statement. See underneath that. What a beautiful role, isn't it? What a beautiful role. So are we supposed to fight anger with anger? No, because if we fight anger with anger, then we're this lady slapping this lady. But as a church, we get to see through that and go, I can't imagine how badly that hurts. I can't imagine how badly that hurts. And we have a home for you, right? That's what we get to do. So here's how we're going to kind of battle this week. These are our two permeating takeaways. They're going to go through the service or through the series. But here's how we learn to let go of the anger. Two thoughts, and here's the first one. The first one is lower your expectation of people. It's pretty easy with me and Eric up here, but we're doing our part, aren't we, buddy? We're doing our part. Lower your expectation of people. The more you deitize people, the more that they will offend you, the more that they will make you angry, the more you are able to have those deep breath moments where you look in the mirror and realize what a screw up you are. I do it daily. The more you're able to see, oh, dude, we're all broken and in need of a Savior. And there's a verse really where essentially Paul is telling Timothy exactly what people are. Listen to this. Listen to this. Does it ever make you want to go out in public again? People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, not sure what kind of rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. And then we hear that, we're like, yeah. And then we're shocked when somebody doesn't text us back, right? Or we're shocked when somebody goes 5 miles per hour over. And we just remind ourselves, oh yeah, we're all broken and in need of a Savior. This is not to excuse actions, but this is to remind ourselves. Romans 3:23 says that every one of us has screwed up. There's not a level to how much you've sinned. There's not a level to how imperfect you are. It's either perfect or imperfect, and we're all on the same level. I also want to say, if you're in here, by the way, and you've been hurt by somebody who represents Jesus, if you've been hurt by somebody who represents the church, and I don't know what that looks like, if it was manipulation, if it was lying, if it was even something worse, I want to say I'm so very sorry that happened. I also want to encourage you, and don't give up faith because of that. Don't give up faith because of that. We're all screwed up. And I'm sorry that you ran into somebody that's imperfect. We all are. But that doesn't have any bearing on a very perfect God who is heartbroken as well and who wants to call you to himself. Look at every single interaction that Jesus had, and it was always with imperfect people, and the way that he reacted was always one with love. The story of the woman at the well, this woman who was the promiscuous woman in that story, goes to the well, and Jesus never once goes, ew, you've had 5 husbands before and now you're sleeping with somebody else, get away from me. It is always embracing. It is always extending. You look at his interaction with Peter, right? And Peter, who was one of his closest followers and still denied him 3 times. And Jesus doesn't say, dude, I'm done with you. Enough. He always leans in. How many times should we forgive? 70 times 7 is just this number that says you always do. His disciples were literally having this argument about, it's right before Jesus is going to go to his death. And they're having an argument about, hey, which one of us is the most important? Which one of us gets to sit next to you in heaven? And he doesn't go, you idiots, right? Like, leave me alone. He always leans in. He always loves. And so the first one, of course, is that we need to lower our expectation of other people, but the second thing that we need to do is raise your gratitude for God's grace. Raise your gratitude for God's grace. And every one of us, I love that song, Amazing Grace. I love it. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. How precious does that grace appear. How precious is that grace. If you don't feel like you have much to be forgiven for, probably haven't done enough digging, but also, if you don't feel you have much forgiven for, then grace doesn't feel like a big deal. That's one of the reasons I love confession. Confession is that time where you talk about the things of you that are screwed up. Every time I confess and I start doing this deep dig onto the things that I've messed up, I'm not calling attention to my deficiency. I'm calling attention to the goodness of God's grace. Like, that is what is beautiful. We're not here to prop ourselves up. We're all messed up, right? We've all done horrible. I had a friend in college who used to steal packs of sauce from Chick-fil-A. That's like the worst thing you can do, right? We're all messed up. That might be the unforgivable sin. That's God's chicken, right? And so, if you're in here and you're like, dude, I'm beyond saving, that guy's beyond saving. You're fine. So I don't know if you've done something that bad or if you've just killed a few people, right? Like, I don't know where you are on the spectrum. No matter where you are, remind yourself that we need to take our expectations of other people down, and we need to remind ourselves of how good God's grace is. Paul said this, it is by grace. It's by the grace of God that you've been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves. It's the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. This is not about us. When I talk to somebody, I promise you, my deflecting statements are not, look how great I am. It is, look at what a wretch I am and how good our God is. That's the most binding. This room, we should have 9 services packed. People need to hear that they are not beyond the grace of God. They are not beyond a God who loves them, a good Father who wants more for them. All right, let me grab this stone. This looks way bigger in other people's hands. Here's my problem, is I really like holding my stone. I like holding this. This stone a lot of times represents the leverage that you have on other people. It represents your bargaining chip because that one person screwed that thing up 2 years ago and you keep tabs on it. And so at any point, you know that you can throw that thing at them. That all stems from a story where, again, a promiscuous woman was caught in the act of adultery with another man. And everybody, even scholars say that they believe it was maybe even set up because there's no show of the guy, but all of a sudden they have this woman, they throw her, maybe even naked, at the foot of Jesus. And they say, hey, Jesus, the law says that this woman should be stoned to death. She should be killed because of what she does. What say you? Essentially just wanting this man who represents kindness to condemn somebody to death. What say you? And Jesus says, you're right. That is what the law says. So whoever is here without sin, whoever is here without blame, whoever is here without fault, you throw the first stone. He goes back and starts drawing in the dirt, and people have always wondered what that is, that he went back to drawing in the dirt. And some people would even theorize that he's actually writing out the sins that people deal with, right, inside of the group. But what it does say is that starting with the oldest, the wisest, who recognize what's going on, all the way down to the youngest, one by one, they drop their stone and they walk away until it's finally just this woman, and he extends this beautiful, warm embrace, the living water, to her. Now, when I'm talking about this, and I'm talking about offense, and I'm making jokes about Chick-fil-A and being offended in traffic, I know that some of you guys are going, hey, okay, but my offense is not a cute story. My offense is not a joke. What happened to me is unspeakable. Graham, you could not even share the story of what happened to me up there on stage. You couldn't do it. It's infiltrated my mindset. I think about it every single day. When we talk about forgiveness, when we talk about letting go of anger, we talk about letting go of offense, it is never to excuse somebody's action. But here's what God's saying. You have been holding that stone every single day. holding on to that offense, even when you don't think that you are, it is always in the back burner of your mind. It is the filter you see everything through. It's affecting your distrust of people. It's affecting what you will involve yourself in. You are hedging your bets everywhere that you go. You're holding that, and you say, and he goes, drop your stone. You go, no. If I drop my stone, if I fully forgive, then what if I have an opportunity tomorrow, that perfect opportunity to throw the stone, so that that person can realize what they did to me? And something that we say inside of here is open hands, open blessings. Now, that doesn't mean that God only blesses you when your hands are open. God is continually blessing you. In fact, it says that he lavishes us with blessing. But we're only able to receive the blessing when our hands are open. And I just feel a very good God begging you, I want to bless you with freedom. I want your life to be so much more free than it is right now. You're holding on to this distrust. You won't get in a community group. You won't be with people because you have this callous shield around your life. Would you drop it? And you go, I don't know if I can. Let him this morning, very gently, loosen the grip of that rock. Gently let him just take it out. He says, I want something that is so much better than the security of this rock for you. Let that drop. And that we get to sit here and say, that will no longer have power over who we are. That bitterness will no longer have power over who we are. God, would you fill these open hands with the blessing that you want for us? If this is your first time in church, that is what God desires for you. This is not a house of rules and laws and you must and shame and condemnation. This is a house of freedom. We worship a God who wants to fill you with the blessing of freedom, that your life to be what he desires for you. And I'm sorry that it's been misrepresented as anger and offense, but we worship a God who loves beyond our screw-ups. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. With eyes closed, would you just in front of you, would you just put both of your hands open? I know it's just symbolic. Is that thing still in your hand? Is that thing still in your hand? If it is, man, just in your mind, drop that thing. Let go of that thing. Let go of that offense. Father, take it from us this morning. Thank you for your goodness. Thank you for your blessing. And we trust what your plan is for our life more than holding on to that offense or that rock. We love you. Your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Good job, Grant.
Thank you.
Thanks for setting
What's up for this week? Again, when we hear the message about offense, God, that was one of the best ones because I think of other people. That really challenged me, Graham, so thank you. And I'm not offended at people who drive 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. It's the one who drive 5 miles an hour under the speed limit in the left lane, Jack Moore, on the way to church. That man right there. So after church, we got some rocks. We're going to see Jack out in the parking lot. Right? Don't do it. Anyway, hey, real quick, I'm going to let you go, but I just want to let you know, 3 weeks from now, on February 26th, we're having a night of worship to celebrate all that God is doing, because we really recognize that God's doing something special in our community and in this church and in the people of this church. And we're going to be celebrating the fact that all the money came in and our building is being paid off. So y'all come out here. We're going to dance on a banknote or something like that. I don't know. We'll do something anyway. But anyway, listen, we're also going to receive our offering in just a moment. And so as the buckets go, there's ways to give up on the screen. There's multiple ways that you can give. But as the buckets go down the aisles, just want to remind you that we believe in irrational generosity. We tell you this every week because we want you to know how important generosity is, and that is part of gratitude. You are the one who has been forgiven much, like Graham talked about, loves much. And when you love, you can't help but give. So that's why we're able to do the things that we're able to do. But we love being generous as well. So if you're here and you need food, clothing, or shelter, you're in need of that. If there's loose cash in the bucket as it goes by, you have our permission to take the cash out of there. No one's going to say anything to you. Hopefully there's no Karens sitting next to you that are going to get offended. And use that cash to meet your needs, because we believe it's God's anyway. And while they're doing that, check out this video.
Panel Quiz Laura Hussey tells us Why, the last thing you'd expect is exactly what the church wants.
The empty Nighttown building was the place to party for 38 years. Right now, it looks like someone needs to bring the music back. That's what the pastor of Shoreline Church wants to do. Eric Parton spent a minute or two in Nighttown himself back in the day.
If you'd have told me back then that I'd be pastoring a church, I'd have laughed at you anyway, because I wasn't a church person. But that we would be meeting in Nighttown, I would have thought you were drunk, you know?
Shoreline reaches out to people who might not see themselves in church. Parton says his dream layout would be like a House of Blues club, and the Nighttown building comes close.
We like this nightclub style because we feel like people would be comfortable coming here.
Now, Shoreline Church hasn't ever been in what you call a traditional location. Their main campus is at the Rave Theater in Destin Commons. They have this one at Uptown Station in Fort Walton Beach, and they've even held services at AJ's for several years.
And Parton can't wait to give the Nighttown building a new story.
If these walls could talk, they could talk about the stories that happened here, but wait till the future. What will these walls say then? So it's really cool.
In Destin, Laura Hussey, Channel 3 News.
Happy anniversary, Shoreline! Hey, don't forget to be here next week and turn in your connection cards today. And then if you need prayer, we got some beautiful people over here. Love to pray for you. And if you're offended about me holding the martini glass, you should be over there. God bless you. Have a great week.